Hi, everyone. I think I am close to the end of your session, so thanks so much for having me here today. I'm Melanie Nakagawa. I'm Microsoft's Chief Sustainability Officer, and I'm thrilled to be here. So the climate challenge, as we've all talked about today, is really a race against the carbon clock to basically decarbonize the global economy in just a few decades and as quickly as possible. We need to go faster and we need to go far. And as the proverb states, to do that, if you want to go farther and faster, you got to do that together. And I'll posit today that the two key ingredients to that are data and AI. Great, perfect. So the recent IPCC report made clear that our window for securing a livable and sustainable future for all is narrowing, and that we need, quote, a rapid and deep, and in most cases, immediate greenhouse gas emissions reduction in all sectors this decade. But we're not on track. Global emissions remain at record levels, even as all the NDCs continue to come forward. We need to achieve them, and then we also need to reduce an estimated 23 gigatons of GHGs to meet those 2030 targets. So we need to accelerate. But I'm an ever optimist, and so I see lots of reasons for optimism, despite some of these daunting facts and the growing science that tells us there's a gap forming. There are a growing number of reasons to be cautiously optimistic and about keeping our temperature degree rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius, and I'll just quickly highlight a few that pop out to me every so often. One is that after 200 years of fossil fuel expansion, we're at a turning point where the global energy system is seeing investment opportunities in renewables and energy efficiencies that are becoming more and more cost competitive every day and every month. We also are seeing from the IEA, the International Energy Agency, and their recent World Energy Outlook, that they're forecasting that renewables are going to become the biggest source of electricity generation by 2025. The Climate Policy Institute, which tracks financial flows for mitigation and adaptation efforts globally, they projected a record $850 billion in total investments in climate solutions in 2021, half coming from public sources and the other half from private sources. And most countries now have a defined path to net zero. Net Zero Tracker finds that 92% of global GDP is now captured by national governments' net zero targets, and that's up from 68% back in December 2020. Furthermore, national government targets represent at least 83% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and that's also up from 61% in 2020 of December. So pledges to reach net zero emissions represent a step up in ambition, one that is greatly needed, that's been called for in the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and it reflects what science says is required to stabilize climate. However, to close this gap, we need to move from climate pledges to progress, from progress to policies, and then to reality. And to shift that, a key part of that is accountability. For companies, this is already becoming a regulatory requirement in many jurisdictions. This most notably is from the EU in the CSRD, the landmark EU legislation that was passed in December of last year that applies to an estimated 50,000 companies, including multinationals. And what the CSRD requires from the policy front is actually required disclosures that include environment, social, and governance metrics. For environment, this is climate, pollution, water, biodiversity, resource use, circularity. The key part of what I've heard today and this morning is what those disclosures look like, where you get that data, how you assess that information. And so it's really that leveraging of policy incentive and imperative to what's already happening in the world today. So to drive the needed transformations and momentum building up in ambition, we need policy, partnerships, and the finance, and that's all encouraging signals that are reasons for optimism. But for that speed and scale that we talked about and we continue to hear about, we do need data and we do need AI. So a bit about Microsoft. At Microsoft, we're committed to becoming a carbon negative company by 2030. This is our carbon moonshot. This is a bold idea that reflects our values and our determination to make a positive impact on people and planet. And we're all in with investment and policy and data-driven innovations. We know that this journey will not be easy. We know that progress is not linear. But we also know that we need to continue to make progress on our bold ambitions to go forward. Another cause for optimism is just how quickly technology is accelerating, the pace at which technology innovation is happening today. This is just one illustration of the growth curve around technology innovation That's no longer a gentle slope, it's practically a vertical line. This graph depicts the time it takes to get to 100 million users. In here you'll see that mobile phones took about 16 years, the internet around 7 years, Facebook around 4.5 years, and ChatGPT about 2 months. The speed and scale at which change can happen as a result of these technologies is daunting, but at the same time reassuring, because we need to leverage this power of data and data-driven technologies to accelerate sustainability transformations. We see this as a key part of achieving our global carbon moonshot. The bold ideas and big challenges, that's at the heart of what Microsoft has been at for many, many years. From the very beginning, we have been driven by a desire to innovate, to take on ambitious goals, and to create technology that empowers people. One of the most iconic and enduring bold ideas was the vision of, quote, putting a computer on every desk. This idea, first articulated by our co-founder Bill Gates in the early days of the company, was audacious and revolutionary. It required us to think beyond the limits of what is currently possible, to develop new technologies, and to make computing accessible to everyone. Partnering with OpenAI most recently to advance our future for responsible AI is another example of our bold idea and this bold vision that reflects our commitment to innovation in building out the economy of the future. The GPT-4 marks a new world of generative AI, which uses data to empower more people to do more. We are focusing on how to target this power of data and AI to accelerate the decarbonization journey for not only ourselves, but also for the world. I'll talk a little bit more about how we think about data and AI today as a company, but also start to think about expanding our view and getting curious about what more can be done. Within Microsoft, we really see about our impact on 3 spheres. The first is at home. We have these operational commitments, not only to be carbon negative by 2030, but to be water positive, zero waste, and protect our ecosystems. We then take what we're doing at home, and we realized along the way that our customers are on a similar journey as we are. They are also trying to figure out their sustainability footprint, measure, report, and reduce it as well. And then we learned that through partnering with our customers and enabling our customers and partners to do more, we're actually having an outsized global impact. So I'll talk about 3 key areas for accelerators for change, if you will, that I'll go through today. First is AI and science. The second is empowering our customers through customer opportunities, and what we're doing around policy. So a lot has been talked about today really on this first topic around AI and science and weather. We've seen various versions of predictions. I commend those that picked New York specific examples. I did not. But what you'll see here is effectively, and I'll be quick on this one because we talked a lot about it, is simply what the power of AI can do around prediction, modeling, and forecasting. At the top, where you see is quite blue, was projecting, it was running a model looking back in January, February of 2018, and it shows cooler temperatures actually in that part of the country. When adding AI to that, you actually see that the AI improved the modeling to show it was actually warmer. And then the perceived effect is actually, it was quite warm that time. Microsoft researchers have worked with researchers at various universities, collaborating with US government agencies to develop an inexpensive and an innovative AI approach that when applied to subseasonal predictions and already existing within our leading centers such as NOAA and the Met Office, dramatically improved them. So further work is needed, of course. We're not yet finished, and there's a lot more that needs to be done around this forecasting and getting better with these forecasting data. But what you can see here is that AI has improved traditional forecasts by 40 to 50% for temperature. And this work is continuing to drive forecast improvements and integrating the most recent advances in AI. Another use case, there we go, that we haven't heard a lot about yet today was looking at how AI can accelerate progress in the discovery of low-carbon materials. Many common industrial materials, such as cement, steel, and plastics, are carbon-intensive to produce. Collectively, they contribute about 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Low-carbon alternatives exist, but they're costly and often difficult to deploy at scale. While a lot of research has been done to develop alternatives to high-carbon materials, such as plastics and cement, the traditional approach to new materials development is slower. It requires, as you see, trial and error and iterations, computer modeling. But now with this new era that we're in with AI, There are infinite number of combinations that could be explored through materials research, and how AI can actually help tackle a lot of those challenges in a faster period of time. Even though experimental validation is still absolutely necessary, using AI can accelerate the material selection and prediction of its properties, reducing the design and validation process of new materials from decades to years, and potentially even sooner. The key innovation here is that AI inverts the materials design process and accelerates it. It reduces the time and cost for creating these materials that's required for these different properties. And at the Microsoft Research Division, we've used a dedicated AI for science team, and one of their key focuses has been on new materials for decarbonization. Another one that I thought we could talk about was not only AI, but the use of large language models and generative AI in what we can do in terms of scaling our opportunity around climate and data and AI. So we're also using AI to empower our customers to do more with sustainability. For example, one avenue is enabling our customers and partners to explore and engage with a much more varied and a variety sort of environmental information, and in an incremental way as well. So for environmental resource managing and planning, that requires geographic information with different sources. So we're building tools to help do that. And that's using our planetary computer. So I will walk through, I'll do a quick example here. So one of the key ways we're starting to explore this is using the co-pilot concept of having both the human and the machine helping us better understand the information that's coming to us. So we're just at the beginning of understanding how co-pilots work, but I want to walk through just a quick demo, because again, part of what I hope I leave you with here today is a curiosity of how these technologies can work, where AI can accelerate the work that you're doing today, and also what are the other ways we can be using it besides potentially just a very narrow definition of the tool. So this is an integration of OpenAI's GPT language model into the Microsoft Planetary Computer. This enables you to use plain language to ask questions that can be answered by over 60 petabytes of complex environmental data. Here we see a user posing a question about land use change over Indonesia. The co-pilot is able to display exactly the data the user needs to answer their question, zooming the map over the area in question and displaying land use data contained by the planetary computer that itself was derived from satellite imagery through AI. It offers an explanation of how to use this data, guiding the user towards answering their own question in ways that previously was only possible with a high level of expertise. Now, the third use case is around policies. While we see data-driven and AI-powered tools as key accelerators to transformations in sustainability, we also recognize that that's not sufficient. We need to be applying it in a much broader array of places, but also using policy to help enable this. Policy is an essential enabler, not just to incentivize the transition to carbon-free energy, as you saw from the earlier areas of optimism, with all the governments tackling net zero targets and putting in place policies and regulations, but we also need to improve grid infrastructure, and we also need to ensure that it can provide an equitable energy future. There are lots of opportunities here of how you can use AI and to manage permitting reform and narrowing time gaps in that space, to improve infrastructure development and permitting. Frankly, the opportunities are endless, and really welcome additional ideas and thoughts from all of you. And this is why we're actively using our voice around the world on these issues, to help advance them and scale them. So as we reimagine the path to transformation, AI can be our co-pilot. But the engine of transformation will be a collaboration among the private sector, academia, government, and NGOs. And underpinning all of this is a commitment to responsible AI, ensuring that the way we deploy AI, the way we inform the modeling, and the way we do the modeling is done in the most efficient way possible, with the right types of guardrails all along the way, to ensure that AI actually does demonstrate and provide the types of solutions that accelerate our sustainability journey, not just for Microsoft, but for the rest of the world. So with that, I'll conclude. Thank you so much.